2 out of 3 Americans have essentially lost their Fourth Amendment protection to the Department of Homeland Security. What do I mean by this? Well, the Department of Homeland Security has decided that search and seizures happening in certain places, which we'll talk about, do not violate Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. This specifically refers to border agents who don't need probable cause nor warrants, since they don't need to prove reasonable suspicion because they are operating within that 100-mile range from a border. And this also includes the coasts as well. So this is interesting because the ACLU has been talking about this as the Constitution-free zone for a while. And we basically now have the numbers, which about 200 million Americans who live within 100 miles of the U.S. border have no Fourth Amendment protection when it comes to coming in and out of the country, but more broadly, because they are within 100 miles, really any time. And we know we have a friend who's in Border Patrol, and he tells us about this. Basically, he's free to ask anybody for anything. He doesn't need a search warrant nor probable cause as long as he's within 100 miles of the border. That's it. That's just it.
Right.
And the ACLU, of course, says that this violates the Fourth Amendment and that in some ways it could violate the First Amendment when it comes to reviewing electronic devices and making assessments about what you are likely to do, crimes you may be going to commit based on text or files, things you have written on that computer. It's incredible stuff, Lewis.
Yeah, I'll say.
Also, Godfather Politics noted, if you live anywhere in Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, or Rhode Island, the search zones from Department of Homeland Security encompass the entire state. So there's a number of let's see. Number one, the ACLU is going to continue fighting this. They've requested a number of documents to explore further what is the text of a lot of the justification being used here. But there's other groups like EFF, which this is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which provide tips about how to protect your devices from search, etc. They actually have a border search quiz, which I'm going to take right now. Let's see if you can pick this up off of my screen, Natan. It's like a 5-question quiz. Let's see if I can answer correctly. Question 1, I'm a U.S. citizen and just arrived back to the U.S. from a business trip. I worked on some business documents that are confidential to my employer. Can border agents search my computer? I mean, I guess yes. I would say yes, a border agent can search my laptop at the border without reasonable suspicion. Next question. Typically, which entity would be in charge of searching me or my possessions when I enter the U.S.? That's Customs and Border Protection. I know that. I hope anyway. If I've protected my computer with an account password, will the data stored on my computer be adequately protected when I cross the border? I would say no. And there's only one of those. No, an account password is easily bypassed by accessing the same disk using a different operating system. That sounds right to me. Question 4, if I decide to use a full disk encryption tool to protect my data, which of the following passphrases is more secure? I would say the longest one. The sleeps mighty tonight, exclamation, jungle, jungle, the in lion, the exclamation. I think that's probably the most secure. And number 5, which of the following is the most secure way to protect your data when crossing the border? There's a few options. Well, the last one's all of the above. I would assume it's just doing all that stuff. Let's see. Grade me. 5 out of 5. There you go. So I think it's worth looking at this website, EFF.org, just to see some of the things that they say. I actually, for backup purposes, I try to keep a lot of stuff on the cloud, using cloud-type services so that I can access them from anywhere, regardless of whether I have my device or not. But that doesn't really provide any protections when it comes to this type of thing.
Right. Yeah. Of course, I mean, that just means you're not carrying anything on you, presumably, right?
Yeah.
So,
but if someone turns on my laptop, for example, I have all those synced folders that while all the data is in the cloud, they can still access it.
And presumably it could be accessed by anyone even without your laptop, given the proper tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah.